Welcome back. So often we say we have a treat today, and today it could be no more true. We have the reigning Wausau Possum Queen with us today, Skyla Carter. We're going to talk to Skyla about everything that's transpired in the last year. You talk to pageant queens, and they get an opportunity to officiate over parades and festivals and events as part of their duties. We're going to find out from Skyla exactly what about Wausau Possum Queen title she likes. This is not her first rodeo. She has been down this track a few times. So when we come back, we're going to talk to Skyla about all of this and more, not the least of which will be what is the Wausau Possum Festival, coming up very soon, the first Saturday in August. This year, August 2nd, with August 1st, which is Friday, being the Wausau Possum King and Queen Contest. We're going to talk about all this and more when we return. We'll be right back.
Women's Day magazine calls the Wausau Possum Festival one of the most unique festivals in the world. But maybe we'll just let you decide. It's time for the Wausau Possum Festival in historic Wausau, Florida. A parade, live music all day long, entertainment for the kids, arts and crafts, great food, and a celebration of the possum. Friday and Saturday, August 1st and 2nd in historic Wausau, Florida. Just 45 minutes north of Panama City and 45 minutes south of Dothan, Alabama. Enjoy local art, food, culture, and some, well, let's just say unusual entertainment. Call 850-638-1781 for more information or visit WausauPossumFestival.com. Brought to you by Wausau, Florida, the Wausau Volunteer Fire Department, Wausau Development Club, and Real Florida Magazine.
Welcome back. As mentioned, we have with us today Skyla Carter. Thanks for taking the time. Thanks for coming down to our studios today, and thanks for taking the time to talk.
Oh, no problem. I love to talk. So.
And you're no stranger to the show. You've been here before, as we mentioned in the pre-show. Last time we talked much about the same that we're going to this time, which is Wausau Possum Festival, and you are the reigning Possum Queen at this point. Talk a little bit about the Wausau Possum Festival.
The Wausau Possum Festival, it is a event you will never forget. It's hot, but the entertainment and the whole just feel of the environment is great. It's a great family event. You really see some of the true beauty of some of the contestants. And I've done it now 5 years. I've won 4 times, so it's a great experience.
Yeah, and I know that you're very gracious about it. You back off. When you become the queen, you typically don't compete the next year, or you'll give somebody else a shot, and that's admirable because obviously you know what it takes. Having won 4 times, you know what the judges are looking for, or maybe more importantly, what they're not looking for. And maybe if you don't mind, we'll talk about that a little bit. I'll tell you, sometimes it verges on covering up your kids' eyes. It can get just a little bit raunchy sometimes.
Right, and I've always tried to keep it clean performance-wise. I just go out there and just have a good time and dance, and I can't dance, so I think that's what, wins them over is my mad dance skills.
Now, especially during the political cycles in which we find ourselves now, many of the candidates for office want to be judges because they know they're going to have lots of photo ops. They're going to be included in some of the videos. And Dion, for instance, he'll jump up there on the table and dance, and others will dance right up there on the judges' table at times.
Right. I'm not coordinated enough. I mean, I do my own stunts, so I would probably fall off and end up having EMS have to pick me up. So I just refrain from jumping on any tables.
It does draw them out of the woodwork, though. Some years, it's kind of surprising, very few contestants, and we've had a couple of those recently, and other times we've got a bumper crop. What do you suppose drives that?
I think it's when they know I'm not competing that they have a chance at winning.
Well, it was said with all due modesty.
I know, I'm so modest.
Now, who is the reigning king at this point?
The reigning king is Derek Blunt, which happens to be my cousin, which is really funny, Wausau.
It works.
Yeah, this is actually the second time we've won it together. The year before last year, we also won it. So. And
Derek, I call him the guitar man. That's a part of his perennial garb. But both of you, despite having won it in successive years or every other year, you change up your costumes and your characters enough so that they truly are entertaining. They take you by surprise, and it's fun for everybody. And if you look at that Possum Palace, it is full.
It is. I think variety. I mean, there's some people that have the same character, and that works for them. I just like giving a variety. Like one year I was a Vegas showgirl, ex-Vegas showgirl. One year I was an ex-Dallas Cowboy cheerleader. Actually, the first year I won, that was my gimmick. And I think it's just surprising to see something that you normally hold in regards as very attractive women being that, and have someone with the teeth and the hair and the makeup. I think it just catches them by surprise.
And we're showing some of those photos and video now. And as you can imagine, it's the first Friday in August, and it's hot. It's arguably the hottest weekend of the year. But aside from the Possum pageant itself, the beauty pageant with all the young girls, it probably is the single largest component of the Wausau Possum Festival.
It is, and I've actually done the beauty pageants before when I was younger. I was Miss Fun Day, so Wausau's just in my blood. Being a Carter, it runs in it.
Now, Latrell Williams, Christy Carter, there have been many queens over the years. Can you recall the last dozen, say, or something like that?
Not off the top of my head, but I know Latrell, and she is hilarious. I love her gimmick and her costumes. I think that she has just a brilliant creative mind when it comes to that stuff.
Now, she's been queen multiple times as well.
Yes, she has. Yes, me and her, I would say, is my biggest competition.
And now, last year, she did not. Did she compete last year?
She competed last year.
You beat her last year?
I beat her last year.
Okay.
Yes.
So now, are you competing this year?
No, I'm not competing this year. Since I won last year, I will be giving up the crown. But I have a feeling that, one of my characters might make a reappearance soon.
Well, and that brings us to the next segment, which is that as reigning queen, you do officiate over some of the event that night. You certainly make an appearance, and you pass on the throne, if you will.
Right.
Obviously, all of Wausau participates. You've got the Wausau Development Group, and then you've got the Wausau Volunteer Fire Department, you've got the town of Wausau, but it's not limited to Wausau, it's not limited to Washington County. We literally have people come from Southeast Alabama, along the coast.
I think one time, I believe it was when Meeks was running, I ended up in a newspaper from where he was from, up north. I ended up in a newspaper, so it was just wow.
Well, when Katherine Harris ran for Secretary of State of the United States, and she was from South Florida, she came up to the Possum Festival that year, and she made international news shaking a possum.
Right.
Last year, we had Governor of Florida, Rick Scott.
Right, and I did have many photo ops with him. I don't think he's quite forgot me yet.
We've got some of those showing right now. You also posed with Marty Coley.
I did.
And other politicians. I think Matt Gaetz.
Yes, and they were just wonderful. Great sports.
Yeah, and prior to that parade kicking off, it's really nice to kind of go into that town hall where the air conditioning is, and that's where all the politicians found themselves, including you and your king. And we did have some good photo ops and good opportunities to get to know each other in there.
Right. That was actually the first year that I've actually got to go into the town hall. Normally, I call the Possum Festival my weight loss program because you can drop like 20 pounds in water weight that day.
The Wausau Possum Festival is sort of bigger than any of its individual components. You've got the pageant, which happens a week prior to the festival.
Right.
You've got the King and Queen contest, which happens the night before. And then Festival Day itself is broken up into lots of different elements. It starts off with the parade. What better way to start off that day than to get hot and sweaty and ride in the back of that old truck?
I tell you, that actually is one of my favorite parts, is riding in the parade. I love entertaining. I love making people laugh, and when you're seeing the little kids and they're looking at you like, huh? They're not sure quite how to take you, and the parents are laughing. It's the best experience in the world. That's why we do it, is for the laughter. I mean, don't get me wrong, the crown is pretty awesome. I like the tiara.
Now, do you get to keep those each year?
Yes, I do.
So you've got a shelf full.
I do. They would have to pry up from my cold, dead hands.
Arguably, the Wausau Possum parade route, or the Wausau parade route, because there's one at Christmas time, there's one this year at 4th of July, and then the Possum, it's a relatively short route, but boy, can they pack in the people.
That seems to be like the biggest parade. It's like, I've never seen so many people in my life, and it's maybe a mile, if that.
And obviously, many of the locals use it as a day to do their homecoming or their family reunions.
Right.
A whole lot of those going on at that time. I know that my wife's family uses that as an opportunity to see parts of their family they haven't seen since the last Possum weekend. And having come from the beach where we lived for 35 years, of course, my wife was originally from Wausau, so I kind of knew a little bit, but until we moved to Wausau, I had no idea. The first year we moved to Wausau, we didn't go to the festival, and but about halfway through the afternoon, I heard all this yelling going on, and I asked my wife what it was, and she said, they're doing the hog calling. And I said, why? And obviously, it's part of the contest.
It is.
During that afternoon. Talk a little bit about what happens in the course of the day on Fun Day.
They have the possum trot, which is something that I've always thought about doing, and it's the thought that counts, so I'm good there. Then I know they have the possum auction. Then there's all kinds of vendors set up. You can find colored glass or colored sand, pepper spray, tasers. They have usually big, huge jumbo slides for the kids.
Pretty much any kind of meat on a stick.
Any kind of meat on a stick.
Gator, chicken.
Possum.
Absolutely. And you can get possum and gravy and sweet potatoes.
Right. And then you can get potted possum to take home.
Absolutely.
Which is great. Then, let's see, they usually have some great live entertainment singing. And then, of course, you have the Possum King and Queen entertaining everyone, dancing around. And that usually goes on to about 1 or 2, and then they release us, and we get to dress in normal clothes, and then nobody recognizes us.
And that's the fun part, because you guys can walk right up to somebody, even that you know quite well, and if you're in full costume, if they haven't seen you in that costume, you're totally
Right.
unrecognizable.
Right. I'll have a lot of people, even where I work at O'Reilly's, they'll look at me and they're like, where do I know you from? And I'm like, did you go to the Possum Festival? They're like, yes. And then they're like, there's no way that's you. So then I have to bring out the iPhone and show, yes, it's me.
Now, Kevin Russell has been one of the past kings multiple times.
He is a trip. He is one of the funniest people that I know. I went to school with him. He was a year above me. And he has been hilarious since I've known him.
And he's an actor at heart anyway.
Right. He needs to be on Broadway or Saturday Night Live or something. He's just awesome.
Dion Goodman, he's another one that whether he's in the competition or not, he's actually taken over the emceeing duties.
Right.
And along with Joe Tharp, they make up what is the King and Queen contest anymore.
They do. Those are the key components. Like, I don't think it would be Possum Night without Dion Goodman being there. I mean, he's been at since I was knee high, I can remember.
Well, certainly a good community, a good group of people. It's an opportunity, all of the festivals and parades and events that are in Washington County, they're all opportunities to get to know your neighbor, get to know people that maybe you don't have anything to do with on a regular basis. Sometimes you come away wishing that you hadn't, and I say that in all humor.
Right.
But we do live in a great community.
We do.
We live here because we want to. We moved here from the beach and have been here now almost 10 years. And my wife can't even get me to go to Dothan or Panama City. I'm at home when I'm here. I love complaining about the traffic jam that when there's a peanut truck in front of me or a hay wagon.
Yes, Fridays downtown are horrible here.
Absolutely. and how quickly you take for granted the quality of life that we've got here. Now, you've lived here lifelong at this point, haven't you?
Right, I've lived here lifelong, and I love the fact that when I go into Walmart, I'm going to see at least 30 people I know or 10 people I'm related to.
Do you ever see yourself moving away?
If you would ask me that 5 years ago, yes, I'm moving away. I'm getting as far away as I can. I have a feeling this is always going to be home, always going to be here.